This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Hello and welcome to the last episode of The Basketball Show for this year. I'm Shane Heel and my co-host, Jo Healy, she's overseas, which won't surprise any of our regular viewers because she's done it all year. She's let us down. But a big thanks to the people who haven't let us down this year, TCL Mobile, 2K, and Bet with Joel. You can see I'm not in the News Corp studios. I'm on the Gold Coast. I'm doing workouts. I just continue to work. And another person that continues to work is one of the greatest NBL imports we've seen all time. My backcourt buddy, Derek Rucker.
Hey, Hammer, what's happening? And yeah, JoJo has gone away again. What a critical time to leave. But hey, I'm envious of her lifestyle, man.
She's just taken it to a whole nother level, haven't she? And, mate, what a time in basketball it's been. We've got so much to talk about on the show today.
It has. I mean, with the NBL wrapping up and now we're in the thick of the NBA playoffs, man. Let's get into it. I'm ready.
All right, let's take a look at our starting five. Well, a big thanks to TCL Mobile for the last time this year. Derek Rucker, the starting five, the Sydney Kings, they did it. You wrote them off at the start of the year. I told you a long way out. They got a team to win it. That's why I won the tipping contest on the basketball show, and you were last. How good were they?
I did. But look here. I really underestimated the brilliance of Jalen Adams. And once he got in that lineup, there was no doubt that they were going to be a grand finalist. This guy really unlocked a lot of their players, especially Xavier Cooks. And come, let's say, late February, early March, Hammer, we knew how this was going to end up. They were only going to beat themselves. It didn't happen, and congratulations. They were the best team in the NBL this season.
Well, the most impressive thing for me, D, is that that they did a great job without Jalen Adams. Guys stepped up and good things happened, and it was incredible the way they had depth, and this team was put together by Chris Pongras.
It truly was, and that's the beauty. I hate to hear teams make excuses because of injuries. Everybody has injuries. You have to build your roster, keeping those possibilities in mind. And the Kings, and as you said, Chris Pongras, great job. Congratulations.
One person that didn't get the credit that I think he deserved was Big Luke Longley. His advisory role for the ownership in Paul Smith, but also with Chase Buford and the players. Unbelievable to have someone of his knowledge and credibility involved.
Well, I mean, he's the most highly credentialed Australian champion as far as basketball goes. Who else you want to take it from? He's played with the greatest player of all time, possibly the greatest coach of all time, Hammer. So I think there's a lot of intellectual property inside that brain of Luke Longley.
It's smart that Paul Smith, who we're talking about now, actually went and got him, though. So you've got all that knowledge, but people just let that go. Paul Smith said, no, I'm going to bring in the best. He's going to play a valuable role. And, well done to Paul Smith and his ownership crew, though, for being able to build this within 3 years.
And, of course, the ownership always deserves an immense amount of credit because ultimately your owner, his values, his work ethic, his beliefs, they trickle down, Hammer, all the way down to the player. You might think that's corny, but that's a reality. I had Paul Smith on my podcast a couple of years ago during the COVID hard lockdown, and I immediately was impressed with his personality and his care for his players, and it shows through. And this isn't going to be a one-off thing, Shane. They're going to build their resources, and they got the tools to go, year after year as perennial contenders to the championship.
Passion from the ownership and the coach all the way down is what helped be able to get it together. But I spoke about Chris Pongras. Now he's earning his money. He did it last year. Now he's got to find a way to be able to keep this team together because everyone on the roster believes they're worth more. And you can't fit that same crew together. How do they do it?
Well, not only do the players feel they're worth more, but some of those players may feel they're worth more in terms of where they want to play. there are probably at least 2 or 3 guys that feel like they can be in the NBA. And I'm talking about Clark, Adams, and Cooks. All those guys will probably get really good looks over the summer. Then you've got other players who might want to move on and look for more paper, as a DJ. He did a really good job. Sean Bruce is a player who I have always rated as a very good backup point guard in the NBL. And maybe he might go somewhere now where he can have value. I'm not sure of the contractual status of a lot of the guys, but that's kind of how I see it right now, Shane.
Cooks just went to another level this year. He's vital for them to be able to hold on to, and they're going to have to pay some big money to keep him. One person I'm interested in free agency is Josh Adams. And let's give a little bit of love to the Jack Jumpers, because they were unbelievable to be able to get to where they got to. And I was really impressed with this kid. I think if the Kings lost Jalen Adams, they could get Josh Adams, and I think that would be a really good replacement. It's not like for like, but he was really good.
He was outstanding. And I said, this time 2 weeks ago that he had the possibility at any point to be the best player on the floor. And he showed that a few times during this series. He's a tough shot taker and a tough shot maker. And the thing I like about him is he doesn't shy away from any moment in the basketball game. He has a little white line fever like you have. We respect that, as long as it's contained and it doesn't affect the team or your individual performance. He's going to be highly valuable out there in that free agent market. Yeah,
there's no doubt. And that'll all take place come Friday. So it's a quick turnaround for free agency. I reckon a lot of the deals are already done, to be honest. So look forward to some announcements the following week. That's just how it works in the NBL. Sometimes you've got to say the way it is, D.
Sure thing.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Well, time for Logue Down, and the man himself, Matt Logue. Welcome to the show yet again. Last show of the year, but we've had Mike Cannon-Brooks on the show twice now, part owner of the Utah Jazz, and we put it to him, when are you going to have a franchise in the NBL? Well, you got a little bit of news for us, mate.
Absolutely, boys. Massive news. Mike is interested in being involved in a second Sydney team, which it would be fantastic news. As you say, Shane, he's co-owner of the Utah Jazz. He loves his basketball. Larry Kesselman was on the basketball show last week and confirmed that a second Sydney team is definitely on the radar. And Mike and Larry were deep in conversation prior to Game 3 in Sydney, the game the Sydney Kings sealed to win another championship. And Mike has said, look, I'm keen. My understanding is he wants to build a basketball stadium above Central Station. He's got money, he's got passion. And I've contacted Mike's agency and they've confirmed this, boys. They've said refer to Mike's quotes on the basketball show earlier this year, where when asked, would you be interested in an NBL team or NBL ownership, he said yes. So watch this space, boys. It's great. It'll be great for the game. There is a concern, though, or a rule, I must state, that says no owner that owns NBA and NBL can have an NBL team. So you can't have both. But surely we can fix that.
That's gone.
Hey,
Let's
Matt,
get rid of that.
Yeah, true. Get rid of that. And Matt, it's interesting because normally with the second Sydney team, we always think it's going to be, Western based, like the Razors when I played there. But you're saying that may not be the case here. They've
got to be careful about this, Derek, in the sense that where Sydney are situated at Kudos, they've got a lot of fans from Sydney's West as well. My understanding, I've been told that there's been interest in Sydney South. There's a strong junior base there, and they've got to go away from the model of where Kudos is. And when the Kings were successful, and Shane can attest to this, entertainment centre, city-based venue went off its head. And that's, I think, what they've got to do. They've got to be smart about how they situate it.
Well, great guy, great businessman, and he would certainly be a fantastic addition to the NBL family. Talking of NBL, NBA, there's talking games. Big news coming up.
Yeah, we've got 2 games coming up. A few disappointed clubs, but Adelaide are locked in. They'll play OKC, is my understanding. So the Josh Giddey game, the synergy there works beautifully. And Melbourne United, they'll go again. And I think that's just, I'll be honest, an NBL thing that you include one of the biggest markets, and I'm not sure who United are playing yet, but just for Adelaide, it's a reward, and to come up against Giddy, hopefully you'd think Giddy would play in that game. That'll be big, but I know there's some disappointed clubs, Shane and Derek.
Yeah, and rightly so.
It's such a big thing, Hammer. When is Perth going to get sent over there? I'm surprised it's been so. They haven't been over yet, have they, Hammer?
Once.
Yeah, you gotta make the playoffs before you get back there. Speaking of big things, what about Cambage?
Yeah,
It sounds like you're doing a very big story on her this week.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit of a policeman. We'll live in a cave for a week and we'll speak to everyone in basketball. We're going to come out later this week with the definitive story of how Liz Cambage deteriorated the Opals culture. There's more to what she said. Obviously, she said to the Nigerians that you go back to your third world country. There has been more said, but it's more the deeper layers of how she impacted a culture. And let's be honest, boys, how Basketball Australia didn't step in when they should have.
Wow, that's an explosive story. Is there any benefit after this, though, just to letting it go and let's move on and exclude her from all of BA activities, Matt?
I agree with that, Derry, and I think obviously that will happen. But I think the public deserve to know the truth because there's still people saying, or defending her. Magic Johnson tweeting about Liz Cambage saying, how fantastic. And don't get me wrong, there's elements of Liz that we should applaud, and she's a great player, but the way she impacted the Opals, particularly in Vegas in the lead up to Tokyo, was unacceptable. And when you got the great Andrew Gaze blowing up, Santa Claus himself, then you've got to respond. Like, geez.
Well, we'll be picking Drewy's brain a little bit later in the show, but big thanks to you, mate. You have knocked it out of the park week in, week out, and what you've done with Tim Morrissey and News Corp this year has taken the reporting of basketball to a whole nother level. So for that, mate, we really appreciate it and well done.
Oh, thank you, boys. Means a lot.
All right, big episode, in depth with 2K, my man and roommate for 3 Olympic Games, and geez, did that scar me. Some of the things that I saw. The GOAT, Andrew Gaze. Welcome, brother.
Mate, it's an absolute delight. I can't believe you've been in this cave, but doing all these podcasts, and I don't think I've got the invitation yet. So I've been a bit disappointed not to feature, but glad to jump on and have a bit of a chat, reminisce, go through some old times.
Stop whining, mate. It's 30 years right now, all right, that one of my favourite photos of all time, and I can't believe it. We're going to set this up. This is the 92 Olympics, and there's 2 bloody good-looking roosters there in the back. I think those Italian ladies might have been pretty keen on sitting with you. But can you believe that no one else came to that game with us?
No, it was amazing. It was amazing, and what a game it was with basketball, absolutely captivating the entire Olympics. And that picture right there, I'm willing to say that I don't know you could put together a better starting 5. I know that the some of the blokes that are running around more recently are pretty high profile and very, very talented. But right there, for us is although we've been to a couple of Olympics already, just to be able to be in that company around those blokes was fantastic, and to be that close, it was extra. Have a look at that, Magic and Lau. Charles, Patrick, Scotty, and Mike, incredible.
When people are looking at that picture in my pool room, I say there's the best 8 players in the world, and then I start counting them. There are only 6. They haven't even recognised that you and I are in the front row.
That is it. And we little fanboys just hoping to get a drip of sweat come on us doing the whole fanboy stuff. But geez, they were cracking seats, and although they completely dominated, it was fantastic. And let's not forget, it was an interesting time because of all the brouhaha that was going on with Magic playing, and of course with Michael and the NBA guys coming into the Olympics for the first time. It was a fun time to be a part of the hoops.
Well, it was. And we didn't get to play them, unfortunately, in that game, because that would have been a game that I would have got on, because I only got on when we're up 20 or down 20. So I would have been a fair chance to get a little bit of a run then. But 4 years later, well, 2 years later, we played them at the World Championships in Toronto. But 4 years later at the Olympics, we played against the Almighty Dream Team. We played them in Utah. There was much talked about. And we've got a photo of you and Carl
I was talking about because of you. You're the talking point. Don't try and throw me into your brouhaha and all the little goings on here. I was just trying to be peacemaker. And right there, I might look under control. Have a look at my arm compared to the great Karl Malone's. What business? I had no business being in this situation. But this is the sort of stuff that you would get me into. And because you would always put all this pressure on me to fly the flag because you said you're always coming to help me. I feel compelled, and right there, completely pooping my pants, thinking you've lost your mind. Because I know when your eyes start rolling, and I remember going the whole way through it, you always would encourage me. You'd always say, "Hey, Drewy, whenever you get into a blue, make sure you get the first one in." And I'm thinking, this bloke here, this little eyes rolling, is going to throw a punch here, and I'm going to be caught in the middle of it. That's what I was thinking. I was sort of new Carl, and that might have a bit of self-control. Not you, my friend. You were the troublemaker of that whole thing. And you're a hero because of it, made millions from it. Ridiculous.
Your peacemaking role went into overdrive, didn't it? Like, you were so comfortable.
Well, this is when you come to fight. Yeah, you got
me into trouble on this one because you took a dive, and I thought he'd done something wrong, but this was on you.
Well, Hammer, there was a small similarity in that your shooting technique is, you kick your feet out and you bring the ball back and all those types of things. And when Charles ran by you, you were sort of in your normal shooting action. So, and he took your legs out, and fair enough, you had every right to be a little agitated. But this one here, you and I both know that when you're going up there and they're coming at you, the old kick the leg out to try and draw the foul.
You grabbed him, mate. You grabbed him. You pulled him down on top of you.
No, well, that's because he caught me when I was elevating. And he caught my legs, and I'm falling to the ground. And
you don't elevate, mate. You don't elevate, mate. That's impossible. So anyway, he might have come close to you. You grabbed him, dragged him down. I thought he'd done the wrong thing by the goat. Yeah. So I'm puffing up like a rooster, trying to stick up for you.
I know, and I do appreciate it, because when I'm on my back and I'm in the submissive position, and I look up and Vince Carter's on top of me, I did feel a little bit more at ease when I saw you come in, because I got no chance. I had no chance. You were able to express yourself in those moments a little bit better than I was. But hey, they were fun to remember the time when that happened. Then 15,000 people at Rod Laver Arena all started chanting, "Carter's a wanker."
I was chanting too.
Yeah. And I remember going into the press conference afterwards, and one of the American reporters, "Hey, Andrew, what is Carter's a wanker? Is that what's all that about?" So it was it was a funny time. They were funny times, but they were very good times and great for our sport. But all those times, they were great for our sport to see. Had the opportunity to play against that caliber player.
Great memories. And, no more pride in representing Australia and sharing it with your mates and all the rest of it. Something that I greatly appreciate. Somebody else that liked to talk it up was your man, Leonard Copeland. Now, I reckon it's been one of the best things that's happened to the commentary with Copes coming up. He's been fantastic. But talk to us about the commentary and that relationship. I even like the banter that he says that your passes were overrated for the alley-oops.
If anyone I can get some support from, it's got to be you. When it comes to
I do.
Because anyway, all he's got to do is go up and catch it and jump. I mean, the precision in getting those passes right on the money. But no, Copes is a star. He's been a star for a long time, and he doesn't mind. He was very good, as you can remember. And you and him, throughout the course, when we were back in the playing days, you guys got into it because I was never one for the jaw jacking like you guys. But he was very quick at it, but usually in good spirits with it all and has a bit of fun. And I think you see that in his commentary. He can get a little loose. He started off just trying to feel his way, but once he started to feel a bit comfortable, I'm like, geez, come on, coach, you back it up a little bit. You're making us, you're trying to have a crack at me, and but it's all in good fun. And we're still very, very close. We play golf a couple of times a week. We hang out and talk, and it's one of those great things about when you get your teammates and you and I and many others although some of them you don't see all that often, but you still have those bonds that last hopefully for eternity.
Well, you know why him and I used to talk a lot of trash is that I used to be chasing you around. You never defended me once. He would chase me around. He was the best that I ever played against at slapping your elbow when you're shooting a jump shot. He was the best. And then he used to giggle when you get angry at the refs, complaining that they couldn't see it.
No, plus the thing with Cubs, he used to get so shitty because he always had the responsibility of having to work so hard at the other end, guarding blokes like you and Ruck and all the stars. And he didn't seem to appreciate that I had my role and I executed it to perfection in order to just know where your strengths and weaknesses are. But and even to this day, he still talks crap about it and goes on about it. But it's but no, he was good at talking it up, and he was very sneaky in the way in which he'd defend. He used his IQ and would often test the limits of the officials.
Speaking of talking trash, you remember that kid we were playing against at college, and we got him on 3 back doors in the same game.
Yeah,
you were the greatest in the history of the game getting back doors.
This is where you just heartless. You got this young kid coming out here playing college ball.
He would have been younger than me.
Yeah, he would have been, absolutely. And, experienced guys who've been around a long time, and we're picking them off. Hammer's coming, you do your little reverse dribble spin. I do a backdoor cut, layup. And rather than just copping it on the chin, oh, no, Hammer's got to go let him know that we picked him off 3 or 4 times in a row and just give this poor kid a spray, but really just trying his hardest. And then you've got to go out there and let him know that he's buggering up and he can't figure it out.
I was trying to help him, mate. He's a college kid playing against pros. I'm like, mate, we've just done the same play 4 times. Wake up to yourself. What is wrong with you, mate? When are you going to learn? That's mentoring.
Well, your tone was a little bit different to what you're expressing here right now. But okay. Yes, in general, that's what you were saying for sure.
I hope you learned from it. Hey, I want to touch on NBL expansion with the success of Tassie. They're talking about Sydney. They're talking about Melbourne, Canberra. What's your views?
No, I like it. I think what's happened with the Jack Jumpers, it just shows when you get a group of guys together, you get a coach that gets them buying into a system, and you don't necessarily need a long history in order to have success. And what it does, I think it would inspire others that are thinking about joining the NBL to say that it is possible. It is possible to come in and do some extraordinary things in a very short period of time. Now, of course, there's a lot of pieces that fall into place, and that is not the norm. What we saw with the Jack Jumpers is clearly not going to be the norm, but it does show that it is possible. And I'd love to see more teams in the competition, because I think that when you look at the kids that are playing college basketball, that are coming back to Australia, you look at some of the kids that are on benches that don't always get a proper opportunity. And you could say that about a lot of the Jack Jumpers players. And now they do get an opportunity and show that they belong. I think that story can be repeated, maybe not to the same success where you're going to make grand finals every year, but it can show that players can play. So I personally think that the depth is there for expansion. And I think that there's a lot of cities that are out there that would love to have a team and would be very good for the competition.
Yeah, I agree. It was huge this year. Last one for you. Now, I've been giving you shit for 30 years that you sit on the fence, but last week, and it's true, no one will argue with that. But as you've got older, you've got off the fence a little bit more. But
Hammer,
last week...
Yes, but Hammer, that is what I am able to do. I will have an opinion, but unlike some, I can appreciate that there are other points of view that I may not agree with, but you can acknowledge. Okay. That's how I'd like to express it, rather than saying I've got to pick it every day.
But last week, there was a raw nerve that got hit with Liz Cambage. And, you know, looking at all the people that came forward after you expressed from where you sit with that picket fence, but you were pretty passionate in your views.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Hammer, you get in those moments, and I think that sometimes you can just hit a nerve. And my comments in regards to Liz, I look back on, and you know, I get no great comfort about it becoming the story that it did, because ultimately, I would love for Liz Cambage to be an Opal, to embrace the Opal spirit, and to have a long and lasting and successful career with the Opals. And even to this day, I still hope that sometime in the future that could be the case. But at some point in time, there's got to be a recognition that there are certain behaviours that are not Opals like, and are not representative of the values that we try and instill in the Boomers or the Opals. And hopefully that those things will come about. But the thing that tipped me over the edge a little bit on that one is that I know that the Opals is a fantastic environment for players. I know that they care deeply about each other. And I felt really hurt that she expressed a view that she didn't feel safe and that she'd been let down. And I'm sure in her mind that she may very well have some points, some positions where you could place an argument that perhaps more could be done. But on a broader view, I thought she was being very upsetting, the way in which it reflected on her teammates more than anything. And to see Jenna O'Hay and the way in which she expressed herself, who has been fantastic for the Opals for a long period of time, the captain of the team, I thought that there was a lot of girls in that Opals team. And I was a little relieved that a few of the former Opals reached out to me and said, hey, we appreciate your support.
Yep. And fairly well said, mate. So well done. Well done on the commentary this year too. I've loved it.
You too, my brother.
Well done on the gaze kick too. Mate, the gaze kick. Well done of getting those gaze kick out the shoes to everybody as well. So you got them. You're rocking it. You're the GOAT. We appreciate you. And thanks for coming on, brother.
Hey, I can't. Hey, we need to do more of it, and we'll looking forward to next season. And good luck with what's going on in Sydney. There, you'll get your team going. As I love watching you go through it, and a bit of pain this year, but I'm sure it's going to come good for you.
We'll be good. Thanks, mate.
Good on you, Hammer.
All right, points made, brought to you by Bet with Joel, who is on fire, by the way, Derek Rucker. Don't worry about that. How big is it in the NBA right now? My man Harden, I tell you, yeah, he was so bad. You're coming around, surely, right?
I can't understand how these flameouts continue to happen for him in these decisive games. And it's not so bad. It's not so bad that, you know, he has poor numbers. That happens, you know, like we can have bad games. That happens to everyone. But it's the demeanor, it's the body language, it's the lack of trying that is really alarming to Sixers fans. And I don't know how Daryl Morey is going to attack this, Hammer, because Harden is up for a contract. And, you know, he's done. He can't play at that level night in, night out that we saw in game 3 or whatever when he had 31 points. the elite James Harden is done. He can pull that off every now and then, but I think more of what you're going to see is around 15 to 16 points. And if you think paying him 40, even 35 million a year for that type of productivity is good basketball business, well, I got a problem with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I wish I had seen that in the past. But Miami took care of them. But now they're going to play against the Celtics. Now, I was on Milwaukee all year. They lost Middleton. How impressive has the Celtics been?
Well, especially going to Milwaukee down 3-2 after losing a gut-wrenching game in the Garden where they were up 9 with about 2 minutes to go. And, you know, I thought it was over. I think last week we were on here and we talked about it being a wrap, but somehow the Celtics and Jason Tatum pulled it together. Hammer, they're a real chance to win it all after looking pathetic late last year. They were losing leads. Their offense looked terrible. Tatum and Jaylen Brown looked out of sync. And now they look like they may be the team that come out of the East. Who do you like, Miami in this one, or do you got Boston?
No, I think it's a flip of the coin. But I've got to say, I just love the way Celtics have gone about it. I love the fact that they haven't been able to have to buy a team. They've built around what they've had. They've found a way to be able to get through it. And they've just been unbelievably impressive. Who you got?
I'm going with, I think Miami are going to be too tough. I think finally Boston's role players will be found out in this series. Although I want to see a Boston Golden State championship series. That's what I ultimately want. But I think Miami are just going to have too much mental toughness. And I'm not sure that Al Horford can bounce back and deal with Bam Adebayo in this series.
Oh, my goodness. But Horford has been unbelievable. He's come from nowhere compared to how he looked a couple of years ago. Let's get to the West. And I was wrong on the Suns. I just thought they were going to be able to get it done. You have been high on Dallas and said this could happen for a little while now. And it seems like they found the balance between Luka and Brunson.
So much credit goes out, and especially to the coaching staff and Jason Kidd. He doesn't shy away from saying what needs to be said to Luka. I think that was one of the problems in the past. And look, that's a two-way street. Sometimes the player doesn't necessarily respect what the coach has to say, or the manner of delivery is improper and it rubs a player the wrong way. Now, well, it looks like Kidd has gotten it right, because something you and I complained about with Luka was just hogging the ball, dribble, dribble, dribble. He made the correction from game 3 onwards, and now Dallas looked really tough. Dinwiddie, who everyone overlooked, but remember when Brooklyn was excelling prior to this big transformation they went under? When they were overachieving, they had Jared Allen, they had Spencer Dinwiddie, they had Karis LeVert, and they were a really good team with those guys in building. Well, Dinwiddie, he was up and coming, man. I thought he was a future all-star. And today he goes for 30 on the road in Phoenix and absolutely dominated. And unfortunately, Hammer, CP3 was nowhere to be seen. Devin Booker missed rumors of a breakup with one of the Jenners is floating around online. He was nowhere to be seen. It's a sad day for the Suns fans, man.
No doubt. But the big question now is, can Dallas go all the way in the West and beat Golden State?
Again, I think this is a toss-up. Golden State, while they've been good, they've also been really bad at times. Memphis really had a chance to win that series. I'm not as confident on Golden State as I was maybe 3 weeks ago. And again, I think this is going to come down to a game 7 and Golden State just get home.
All right. Give me who's going to play off and who wins it.
Golden State v. Miami, Golden State in 6.
Wow. I'm going exactly the same matchup, but I'm going to go Miami. This is going to be great. It's nice to get to these sort of finals and not really be able to pick who's going to win. It's probably the closest we've seen in a long time.
And isn't it interesting, though, Hammer, we see some of these guys really starting to drop off in these playoff series. We've seen it with James Harden. We saw it with Chris Paul. We saw it with Kevin Durant and even Kyrie to a lesser extent. And suddenly, perhaps, we're seeing a changing of the guard. Maybe now it's Giannis, it's Tatum, It's Luka. It's that
Correct.
next range of guys now. Yes, it's that guy now who is going to lead us in for the next 5 years in playoffs.
Good stuff, mate. We'll check out how we go until next year.
Sure thing. We got it.
All right, that's all we've got time for another year. We've had our 100th show. It's been a massive year of NBA. I've got so many thank yous because we appreciate all the support we've had. TCL Mobile, 2K, Bet with Joel, the Daily Telegraph, Sport, KO Sport. Special thanks to Tim Morrissey, John Gower, Matt Hickey, Nick Bartlett, Nate, Patrick, and to you, Derek Rucker. Thank you again, brother. You've been outstanding. Joe Healy, when she decides to turn up, she's one of the best in the business. Matt Logue, no doubt. And Director Dave, my boy. They said we couldn't do it, mate. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, still doing it. Good stuff, D.
Thank you. And thanks to you, Hammer. Give yourself a pat on the back. It's been a great job by you developing and cultivating this show with Director Dave into what it is. And I think it's a very important vehicle for the league. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, we'll be back bigger and better next year. Thanks to all of our fans. You guys have been unbelievable. And all the guests that come on and really support us being able to, promote basketball in general. So stay safe and we'll see you next year.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.